Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is your girl So with Zubs. On today's episode we are going to be making a corset top with just your bra cup and no rigorous process of contouring the underbust, tightening this and tightening that. So we are just going to make it a little more simple, okay, just for beginners. Anyone that is new to corset making, you can do this and it will turn out perfect. So these are the tools I'll be working with. I have my bra cup, I have my underwire, my pattern drafting tools, my bias tape we'll be using to create the channel, so our boning, the fabric. Okay, so we'll move straight to drafting our basic bodice. So here I'm labeling the bust line, the under bust, the half length, and then the length of the top. So I'm using 25 inches for the top because it has a Basque effect, more like a swimming stuff. Yeah, so is this, I think it's swimming trunk they call it, whatever, but you already know how the front looks like. Okay, so at the center front I'm just going to be creating a demarcation between the two breasts. So I'll be using 0.5 inches for this. Okay, the breasts are not so close to each other. Even your bra, there's always that gap, like 1 inch, 1.5 inches. So it depends on how wide you want the gap to be. So I'm using 0.5 inches here. All right, so after marking that out, I am going to determine how much I want to show, like how much breast I want to show on the chest area, because I just don't want to place this and after making it you won't even be able to wear it because it will be so revealing. So I'm pushing it up a bit. It's going to be away from the underbust. I don't want so much flesh to show at the top. Okay, so I'll be taking more like making a yoke for this. Just in case you actually want to make a yoke for yours, you can use this method. So I'm just taking 7 inches, which I'm going to tag the chest line, CH. So I have 7 inches for the chest line. With this, I'm sure my breast or my cleavage is not going to be popping out after drafting. So if I should place this directly on the underbust, you can see that the gap is too much from where I have my chest line. That means it's really going to reveal a lot. But if it is okay by you, it's up to you to do what you like. All right, but for me it is not okay. So I'm just shifting it up a bit. I'll go ahead and extend the center line and place my cup. Just make it touch that line, especially on the center line. That is the half inch you marked earlier. So in placing your bra cup, do not make it to be flat. Okay, I'm still trying to adjust. Now I'll go ahead and measure and determine my new underbust line. My shoulder to underbust is 13.5 inches. The shoulder to bust is 10 inches. So this is where my new 13.5 inches is. Remember, this is what we are using. We are using the bra cup for this. So obviously it has to pack your breast from the under, just the way your bra does. All right. The initial shoulder to underbust is 13.5. Now what I have here with the bra cup on the paper is 14.5, more like a difference of 1 inch. So I've marked out the new underbust and tagged it new underbust. So if you're placing your cup, do not leave it flat. Use your hand and gather it up a bit. Just give it some kind of push, as you can see me do. All right, just give it a push so that it doesn't sit just flat on the surface. Okay, no, that's bad. Just give it a little push. So by the time you're done fixing the cup and lifting it, you can tilt a bit to the side so that if you want it to be more deep, that's to show your cleavage, then you can still go up. You can see the cup is almost touching the armhole, the chest line. Okay, it depends on what works for you. So go ahead and push it up, and then you trace out the shape of the cup on the new underbust line. Okay, just hold the cup, don't leave it so that it doesn't fall flat. Trace out the new underbust line. So this is what we have after tracing out our new underbust line. You can blend out if there are sharp edges, and you extend this to the chest line. So inside the cup, you know there is an allowance for sewing, so that allowance we are going to be transferring it to the pattern. Okay, I have 0.25 inches allowance on my cup, so that is what I'm marking out now on the pattern paper. So you just take it round. So just in case you need a yoke for your dress, what I'm making a dotted line for those that would want to add a yoke to this. From the center front with your cup on the paper, you can just trace out the top. Now I'm going to be transferring my dart, or creating my darts at the waistline. That's the half length line. I opened the dart by half inch on both sides. Then from the hem, which is 25 inches, I came up by 4 inches just to create some kind of contouring around the chest area, some kind of tightening. So I'm connecting the darts to the under bust. Okay, and you equally connect it to the 4 inches you came up from the hemline. So this is how our dart is going to look. Now I can go ahead now and place my other measurements. Just do your measurements, your bust, your waist, your underbust divided by 4 plus your dart allowance, and then your sewing allowance. The sewing allowance I used is 1.5. So you go ahead and mark. Now to measure, to place your bust measurement, you go ahead and place the cup back and take the bust measurement with the cup on the paper. So I'm done placing my measurement. On the hemline, you are using your hip measurement because the length of the dress, the length of the top crossed the waistline. So you go ahead and use your hip measurement and connect the lines as you have seen. Okay, now we are going to be creating the basque effect on the top, just like what we've seen on the thumbnail. So I would measure from the shoulder to the half length is 18 inches. So at the 18 inches line, I'm coming down by 1.5 inches so that it doesn't just start from the half length. Okay, so ignore the second dot I made, just go with the first one. So I'll coordinate like so with my curve. 1.5 inches is fine. 2 inches might be too low, but if it's okay for you, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so the basque depends on where you want it. If you want to start it on the waistline, it's still okay. Do what works for you. So you place, connect, and then take it to the dart line. You can still go beyond the dart line, depends on what just works for you. So as we go into the video, we'll see how it eventually turned out. So all the shaded parts are going to be cut out. All right, we'll cut out like so. The cup area, we'll cut it out the way we've seen it. We'll cut out the basque, and then alright, now we are done drafting the back piece. Our bust is there, the underbust and the waistline. Now just to cross check, make sure that the sides of the front and the side of the back matches, because it's just the front that has the basque. The basque is not there at the back, but if you want to add it to the back, you can equally do so. So I'm just trying to match up the armhole. Okay, you can see that the side of my back where I have the half length of the front is equally where the half length of the back is, and I'll be using a zip for this. If you want to use rope, you can go ahead and do without the zip allowance, but I'll be using a zip for this. Tying the rope is somehow inconveniencing especially when you don't have someone to do it for you. Okay, so the back can also be at the back, but it's optional. For this, no. Now I've marked out the dotted lines, which is going to be 7 as a yoke, just in case you want to add a yoke to this top. All right, I'm going ahead to cut out our pattern. We've cut out the neckline, everything, and this is our back piece. All right, So you can go ahead and infuse the kind of yolk you want. This is how I want the yolk to be, or I'm not sure I'll be adding a yolk to this actually, but just for the sake of those that may want to add a yolk to their dress, okay? So this can work for you. Go ahead and cut out the upper part, which should serve as the yolk. So this is what you should have by the time you're done cutting out. The back can it actually be lower than this. From the center back, you can blend into the armhole. If you're just making it a tube top, okay? But if you want to add the yoke, leave the armhole the way it is. So the side seam, like I told us, has to match the sides of the front and the back. You can see, and these are the yokes for those that are interested in adding the yoke. So we'll keep this aside now, and before we move further, I'm going to be cutting out the dart on the front piece just to give it some kind of fitting, some kind of contouring around the underbust and the waistline. Okay, you cut out the shaded line. For the back, you can as well cut it out, but if you're cutting out the back, that once you want to, when you want to cut it out on your fabric, please do well to add your ½ inch seam allowance, okay? Especially if you are working with zip. But if you're not adding zip, you can just leave it like that. The rope and the opening at the back would help it fit, okay? So we are going to be contouring the zip area. Is very, very important. I've reduced the zip allowance by ½ inch on the waistline, so I'll go ahead and connect it to the top of the back. So you can go ahead now and cut out. Now I have my patterns transferred to the fabric, and this is what we have. We've added ½ inch seam allowance around the patterns, except the zip allowance area for the back and the side for the back, and equally the side for the front. Remember, you already added your sewing allowance, which is 1.5 inches. Okay, so I'll be stopping this here. You can please subscribe to the channel so that you can see the complete version of this dress when we'll be completing it. I don't want it to be longer than this so that it can actually load quickly and we won't get bored trying to watch. Is a long video, so the pattern is coming first, then the sewing will be following suit. If you're new here, please give us a thumbs up if you like what you are seeing. Subscribe to this channel. You can like and share. Yeah, subscriptions has a way of making YouTubers, you know, keep up with whatever they are bringing to the table. When you come online, see someone have subscribed to your channel, you know that someone is actually watching. Okay, so just support us the little way you can. Just subscribe and it's free. All right, see you in the sewing part of this tutorial. Take care. Love you.